And here we are. Welcome back to the Redshirt Sophomore podcast where we never sit out. We're your hosts, Matthew and Chris Dawson. What is going on? C to the D. It is week 5.
We love it. We love it. After a historic number of top 25 matchups in week 4 that lived up to the hype, do not go anywhere. We're breaking down week 5. There's still a ton of great games, like there always is. The beauty of college football is it never lets us down, right? If you're new to the channel, obviously, welcome. Subscribe and like if you're enjoying the content. But we're going to break down about 9 games, I believe, in this episode. We'll have them individually cut up as well. So if you want to send them to a buddy, if they're a certain fan of that team, do that as well. And then we're going to get into a new segment we're introducing this week about upset meters and how we're feeling, if someone should be nervous or someone should be fine this week. We're going to break down 4 more favorites in that as well. So we got a lot of stuff to talk to today. Obviously, ready to get into it.
Some pretty steamy stuff on the upset meter, if you ask me.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Hey, and look, if we don't cover a team that's your favorite team, right? Send us an email about it, redshirtsophomore@gmail.com, or add us at Twitter at the Redshirt Soft. Comment on this video right here. Just let us know like we want to cover what we want to cover, but also we want to make sure it's enjoyable for you. And we like covering more teams. So there's another team that we can cover that you guys like. I'm all in. I'm all ears. Ready to get going?
Absolutely.
USC at Colorado. I don't know why people are dismissing this game. It's so funny how the national media just kind of turns its head now, right? Last week, the premier game was Oregon, Colorado, right? Even with the 21-point spread, right? Well, there was Clemson, Florida State, right? But it was like the national media had its eyes at Colorado, Oregon, right? What's going to happen when they face a really elite team? Well, we saw, right? But USC did not face an elite team the other day, and they didn't look so good. In fact, Arizona State was in that ball game. A lot of stuff going on. We'll get into some of that as well. But Colorado, Xavier Weaver goes down. Why he and Shedeur Sanders were in at the end of the game when you have zero depth on this roster, it either means that Deion Sanders believes that he has depth, or that he is. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was.
I think part of it's establishing a culture for sure, right? They were down a shit ton of points. Like it was not pretty at all. Those guys didn't deserve a break, I don't think, in that game, but also throughout the season, you got to be smart. People forget Deion Sanders is still a young head coach. This is his first year at Colorado, first year in FBS, and he's never had to deal with a blowout like that, right? In high school or FCS level at Jackson State, they never got blown out. They always had elite talent. They always had that. So they were never having to worry about that aspect of it. So I think that's something he's going to learn, right? And he's still a new coach for sure. But this is an interesting game. Like you said, I think this was the game that I thought was a little bit more interesting, I think, matchup wise compared to last week in terms of like the 2 teams that Colorado's going to play back to back, Oregon and USC. I think USC kind of lends itself to be able to be upset by a team like Colorado, historically at least. But this year, like if you're a USC fan, you've been running the ball great, right? With Marshawn Lloyd, Austin Jones, and you're actually getting the pass rusher. You're getting an effective pass rush, getting to the quarterback, which are 2 weaknesses on Colorado's roster, which is something hopefully, those guys there, Lincoln Riley, will be able to take advantage of. What say you about this game?
I think as a USC fan, right? I mean, who isn't? Mr. Grin over there, defense coordinator. You got to be upset, right? But also, they just don't tackle well. They just don't tackle. Ready for this? Mason Cobb, highly touted, highly sought after linebacker transfer from Oklahoma State last year. In fact, I'm a Texas A&M fan, right? We know this if you've been watching the show. If not, gig them, right? It was a big miss for us. It was a big miss for us. We're starting a true freshman at linebacker. He has looked better than Mason Cobb has looked. Mason Cobb had the most defensive snaps from USC yesterday, or not yesterday, this past weekend. How many tackles do you think he had? 4, 3 on the low end. 1. He had 1 tackle. Where is this guy? He is missing holes. He's missing reads, right? He's not coming downfield. Or when he does, he flies and he totally over pursues. Like, I don't know. That guy's like a 5th year, 4th year guy. Like, I don't know what kind of mistakes he's making over there. But on the bright side, right? If Colorado thought that they could run the ball, I think that USC has some guys on the D line. Right, Bear Alexander's played really, really well for them. I think. I know week one people like to make fun of him for that one lax play that he had, but come on, I mean he's been good. He's probably been one of their better defensive linemen this season. Yeah, pass rush has been key for them. Negative plays, that's the key for them. Can they get those negative plays against Colorado, which Colorado is susceptible to? We know that they get sacked a lot. We know Shedeur Sanders takes hits. And without Xavier Weaver, without Travis Hunter, are those receivers going to be able to get separation on this USC team? My belief is, I think so to some degree, but I think if Colorado can find a way to run the ball, right? Alton McCaskill's back. I know you love Alton McCaskill. Didn't really do a whole lot last week, but no one did. You've mentioned that to me before. No one did. So can they get him, Dylan Edwards, going a little bit? I don't know. For me, I'm taking USC to win this ball game. I'll take Colorado to cover. Give me 21 the hook. Right. If you're actually betting Colorado 21 the hook, which I'm not, right? This is just a pick. You can actually get them at plus 22. So don't waste your time. I think it's on Bet Rivers and you bet. Just get them at plus 22. Be smart. Shop lines. Come on.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. I'm gonna follow you there. I'm gonna go USC to win, Colorado to cover. I do think Colorado responds. I think it helps being at home this time. It helps having, you show obviously not that you were perfect through the 3 weeks you played in 3 games you won, but you won those 3 games, and obviously there was a lot of hype around you guys. I think it helps being a little bit more of an underdog. I think for Colorado, it's a good spot to be in if you're Deion Sanders and trying to motivate your team. It can't get worse than last week. Hopefully not, right? If you're a Colorado fan, you hope it's not. Um, and then, yeah, like you said, I think Alton McCaskill, Dylan Edwards, you got to be able to use 21 personnel. Without Xavier Weaver, without Travis Hunter, get those guys more involved and slow down that pass rush. If you can run the football, you can slow down the pass rush. Now that's obviously easier said than done with that O line that you have there. You have they talk about tall tackles and small guards. That's not a recipe to be able to run the football. On the offensive line there for Colorado, but someone's got to help Shedeur Sanders. He can't do it all on his own, like you said with Bear Alexander. Their D line's been playing okay. Solomon Byrd, right? Guys like that. That hasn't really been their problem. But at the second level, if you can get to those linebackers, you can really gash them. I think Colorado's got a chance there. But yeah, I'm not putting this quite on an upset alert for sure. I think there's a path to win for Colorado just because of how good Shedeur Sanders is. Some playmakers on the outside. God forbid if something happens to Caleb Williams or if they just can't run the football for whatever reason. Obviously Colorado's got a chance to win, but yeah, I'm the interesting line here, I think is the over. It's at 73.5. That's such a crazy high number if you're familiar with
Yeah.
college football over under, but it's got a chance to hit that for sure, obviously. With how explosive these two offenses are and maybe how vulnerable their defense has been this year. But yeah, look for USC to just if you're USC, stay healthy, win by multiple double digits, and I think you'll be fine. Right? It'd be nice to see your defense play well to tackle. You would love that obviously, but you're not
Yeah.
expecting like crazy numbers from your defense. And if you're Colorado, just see some fight. Make sure your team hasn't given up. Obviously, Deion Sanders won't let that happen, and Shedeur Sanders, but you want to be definitely better than last year. Keep it within a 2-score game. Make it a second half that you can actually watch with a close game. Maybe those guys, and who knows what can happen in the second half football game at home, right? For road dogs, or I'm sorry, home dogs. You never know.
Yeah, you mentioned how important it was that Colorado was at home. I think it's doubly important because this USC team susceptible to penalties. Susceptible. We're talking about through 4 games, 37 penalties. 37 penalties. It's more than 9 a game for 347 yards. That's 86 yards per game. That's the third most in the country, penalties wise. And you're only ahead of Boston College and Colorado State. And Colorado State played in that Colorado game that was just chippy, where there were 27 penalties, right? So, I mean, there's silver lining there. Washington's right there with them. So, which is really, really interesting to see.
They
But
had
yeah,
they had 10 penalties on the road against Arizona State last week. 10 penalties.
so here it is again on the road again. Can they do it? I think they do. I think they win. Do they cover? Maybe. Utah at Oregon State. Wow, feels like The national media is still neglecting to talk about Utah. They're
Oh.
they're undefeated without Cam Rising. Florida, Baylor, uh, and then Frisky, who's they played some terrible team. But then UCLA, Dante Moore, really good defense. They get it done at home like they always do. The difference here though, they're on the road. On the road, going to Corvallis. DJ in a big game, but he's at home playing against a very, very good defense. Utah's been banged up all year. Like I want to say, like, oh, Utah, like injuries, they've been banged up all year. I mean, aside from Cam Rising, Connor O'Toole on defense, right? Michael Pittman, right? Their wide receiver, who apparently they don't need because they don't score points anyways. Bernard at running back, Jalen Glover, but I think he's okay though. I think he'll be back.
Mm.
Quinn Jackson, he's also been banged up, like kind of like since the Baylor game, he just kind of fighting through things, fighting through like little kinks and whatnot. But and Oregon State is entirely healthy. That offensive line is cooking. Now they lost to Washington State, but that was a team that is one very good and very explosive in their pass game, which I don't know that Utah can do. I don't know that Utah can do that. So the question is, can Oregon State get theirs on the ground game this week?
When UCLA tried that and they really couldn't. When Carson was stealing their stable running backs there. Obviously, it was at Utah. Oregon State, I think. Damian Martinez, I know you're high on him. I'm high on him. People are starting to get as high as you are on him, which is good. Good for them in Corvallis to get some attention that they deserve. I think this game would have had a lot more eyes on it, right? If it wasn't on a Friday night, and if Oregon State didn't lose last week, right? They were still undefeated. Then you'd have a top 15 matchup, top 12 matchup, maybe, right there on the Pac-12. I think something about me, and I've been pretty good on Utah all year. Something about me says that Nate Johnson's gonna have a really nice game. Right? We don't know if Cam Rising's playing or not. I assume not. Right? I'm gonna pick it as
They
they're
got a
not
bye
because
week next week. I think
that
that's their
yeah,
plan.
that's the logical sense. And if you lose this game, yes, that sucks, but your season's not over, right? The Pac-12 championship can still win with the healthy Cam Rising.
Totally.
But I still think Nate Johnson, right? Cam Ward obviously is Cam Ward, and he's got a stable of receivers, an O-line that's actually playing pretty darn good compared to what it was last year. So he obviously torched this Oregon State defense. I don't even think they punted once in that game. But I think Nate Johnson with his legs, maybe extending plays instead of running for first downs, can throw for big touchdowns when broken plays happen. And if you're Utah, we saw against UCLA, you only need a couple plays, right? A couple plays, right? Because of how consistent they are down, right? You only need a couple explosive plays, whether offensively or defensive special teams, to get big, big touchdowns there. So I'm gonna go Utah as a road dog. Give me plus 3.5 Utah, and give me Utah obviously to win.
Wow. Last week, I faded Utah. I did it. I took UCLA to win, and I took their spread, obviously, inherently. But we were like, are you gonna make that mistake again this week? Well, this time it's not a mistake. Give me the Beavs. Give me the points. Difference here, it's in Corvallis. That's
That
the
makes a big
difference
deal.
in the game. I think Oregon State can get theirs. I think DJU can do enough, especially at home. He just plays better at home. That's just what he does.
But also in big games against good defenses, are you worried about that as all? Are you worried about that? I mean, you have to be a little bit worried, but how worried are you? You're obviously not worried enough to fade you from the pick.
Whatever he does, it is not going to be worse than what Nate Johnson's going to do this Saturday or this Friday.
Come on, don't give me that slant. Actually, no. Nate Johnson.
He like kid's got heart. Kid's got heart. He doesn't do a lot of stuff to he doesn't do a lot of stuff to lose you ball games, but I think this is a game where you need a quarterback to go win you one. And I just don't.
When have you ever given a quarterback and described him as, oh, he's got heart, and that's ever been a compliment in terms of like a really good player? Like,
Hey, I said that about Dante Moore last week. That kid has heart. That kid has heart.
Diego Pavila, right? Right, for those of you who don't know, is a New Mexico State quarterback. He's got heart. He for whatever he did, off the field against New Mexico is totally different. But he's got heart. He's not a good quarterback, but he's got heart. Nate Johnson is a good athlete. He can make plays.
I haven't heard you say that he's a good quarterback. I've heard you say he's a good athlete. That's all I've heard you
Come
say.
on. Well, because I said he's gonna when the pocket breaks down or when he chooses to leave, he's got 10-4 speed, 10-5 speed. I mean, he can go wherever he wants to go. And you got to get that running game
I'm gonna
going.
take the better quarterback. I'm gonna take the better offensive line. I'm gonna take the better rushing attack, and I'm gonna take him at home. That's what I'm gonna do.
So you could say all those things about UCLA last year, except on being on the road. UCLA. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know, man. It's just so hard. We've learned not to bet on Kyle Whittingham. And the
Look, if
sad
I
part
do it,
about it,
if I lose this again, I can no longer fade Utah for the rest of the year.
well, and you have Utah's over under. You have their over on the season. I think is it Oregon State's as well?
I have both of them.
Yeah. So it doesn't really matter the outcome of this game for you. Obviously, we're not putting money on this individual game.
I think
We've
I'd
got
like Oregon
money on.
State. Oregon State's got a pretty tough schedule, but so's Utah. But if Utah gets Cam Rising back after the bye, then I'm not worried.
I was worried for Utah having such an early bye, right? Week 5, or I'm sorry, week 6.
I think it's
Right.
perfect.
I didn't realize how physical their schedule was going to be. You've got Florida, obviously, who's a physical football team. Baylor, for all their limitations, they're a little bit physical for sure. And obviously, UCLA and Oregon State are very physical football teams. But Utah in its own right, very, very, they pride themselves on physical. And the sad part about it, though, with Kyle Whittingham is you haven't heard his name come up once in the national media.
Nope.
Once. If
Nope.
people say, "Oh, Utah's won without a backup quarterback," good for them. But Kyle Whittingham deserves a ton of credit. We talk about if the season ended today, what would your award voting coach of the year in the Pac-12 has to be Kyle Whittingham.
Has to be Kyle
Even though
Whittingham.
Deion Sanders deserves a ton of credit, and I love Deion Sanders, and I love what he's doing for Colorado, and obviously, if he continues to play this well, he's probably going to win it, and probably rightfully so. But Kyle Whittingham, man, 4-0 with no quarterback play. No quarterback play. This week he gets it, though. Nate
Yeah.
Johnson on the road gets it done.
Texas A&M in Jerry World versus Arkansas. That line is currently A&M minus 6.5. Do with that what you will. Wigman, news came out today. Pretty brutal. He will be out for the rest of the season with a foot injury. Tough to hear that.
Pretty brutal. I don't think you really give justice, and it's not saying how bad. I don't think Max Johnson's a bad quarterback. Obviously, he's had success against LSU or at LSU in the SEC and against Arkansas in his career. But Wigman was becoming an elite SEC quarterback, in front of our eyes in his sophomore campaign, and it really sucks. If you're an A&M fan, you know this all too well. 3 straight years since that magical 2020 season that you had 3 straight years of having at least your starting quarterback go down from injuries. If history tells you anything, right, Max Johnson's the next. Max Johnson's going to get hurt too. And so if you're A&M, you got to pray you've got a third string quarterback that can
Then
do
is Henderson from Fresno State? Is he going to come in? Jimbo said he's the next guy after Max Johnson.
I guess so,
Who
but
knows? And then after that, Marcel Reed, maybe the true freshman. Jeez,
God, that's not what you
but
want for A&M. But getting in the game, this is always a great game, by the way. It sucks that it's in Arlington. I know you went to this game last year. This was a great game last year, right? Where was it Damani Richardson that KJ Jefferson tried to Superman over the goal line. It got knocked out of his hands.
Damani
And then they
Richardson.
returned it
Oh,
back.
Tyree Chappelle to Damani Richardson. Let's go. I was at that game. That was awesome. I'm looking for more moments like that this game as well. Injury news, besides Connor Wigman, Noah Thomas. He's back. Really unfortunate to hear what happened to his brother, though. His brother passed away this past week. Really tough to hear that. Prayers up for the Thomas family for sure. But he's a really good weapon. We've been missing in the last couple weeks. Evan Stewart is 100%. We saw it against Auburn. Come on. He's a dog. Jordan Gilbert, safety. He's out.
Who steps in?
Did we upgrade with Jacoby Matthews?
Is it Jacoby Matthews? I like that. I like that.
I think we upgrade there. And look, I respect Jordan Gilbert as a player. I think he's a really good football player. Well,
he's a good football
rewind.
player.
He's a good football player. He's a football player. All right.
Oh, come
I'm never gonna hate on
on.
players. I'm gonna hate on coaches. You'll hear me hate on coaches. DJ Durkin, watch your back. But I think this A&M team is just way too talented to lose this ball game. I think Arkansas has been struggling to run the ball. I think KJ Jefferson made enough plays against the LSU secondary, which again is just taking beating after beating after beating. Another player down for LSU, brain tumor. We'll talk about that later when we cover the LSU game. But I think Arkansas made a lot of stuff happen early, right? But ultimately, KJ Jefferson, he played well. Just wasn't enough, man. Just wasn't enough. There were explosive plays, which I think in Bobby Petrino's offense, A&M is very capable of doing to this Arkansas defense. Very capable. I mean, we saw Max Johnson. He actually has a pretty deep ball. I think people forgot about that because all he would do is throw slants and 5-yard outs and 7-yard hitches last year. Remember, we saw in the Auburn game when he uncorked one to Evan Stewart in double coverage. That was electric. Absolutely electric throw. I trust Max Johnson a lot. I don't think there's a gigantic drop off in the way that your game plan changes. I think it's the same game plan for like a similar style quarterback, a guy who's kind of got legs. I do think Wigman's a little bit more electric as a quarterback, as a player, but Max Johnson's completely capable to lead this team. And he's familiar with the guys. This offensive line is playing better every week, which I really like to see. Of course, people want to blame the offensive line on that. Go back and watch that play, right? You cannot blame the offensive line for that play that happened to Wigman, right? A guy out of the slot corner came in like late. I mean, like, come on. It was pretty brutal, but in terms of Arkansas, here's the thing about Arkansas. What also is not helping them in these games, they're giving up explosive plays to LSU and BYU, but penalties, man. 314 penalty yards this far. Now, also, what I do like about Arkansas, big physical pass catchers, wide receivers that are pretty much all over 6'2", 6'3", and a tight end. Lucas, what a stud, a true freshman baller. Brock Bowers-esque freshman year. He is absolutely stepping up to the ball plate. And look, we'll see what A&M does to kind of bracket him. I don't know what they're going to do. They don't have a ton of size at DB except maybe Josh DeBerry a little bit. Do they bring Tony Grimes in the game? Do they give him a chance at nickel a little bit? Do they put Torian York over him? I don't know. Ezrin Cooper is also really large, really big. Do they want him covering him? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do to handle that tight end spot. But tight ends have not been hurting A&M this year, so but that could change in this Arkansas game, of course. So is Raheem Sanders back? I don't know yet. I don't know. That does, I think, change this game a little bit for sure. But I'll just say some things. But before that, give me Texas A&M win. Give me Arkansas to cover. This game is always weird, and it's going to be a close game on a neutral site.
I know that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna take Arkansas to cover for sure. I still haven't figured out what I want. In terms of picking the actual, the winner of the game. I'm gonna wait a second on that. But I'm gonna tell you what Sam Pittman said, I believe, yesterday. And it was kind of reported today. He feels better about Rocket Sanders playing today. The best he's felt since before he got that injury, which is really good. He's been further ahead this week in practice than they thought he was going to be. It sounds like he's trending towards playing. The difference is how much of Rocket Sanders do you really get? I think that really does matter because obviously A&M in the past under DJ Durkin has been susceptible to get torched a little bit. With Rocket Sanders there and KJ Jefferson, obviously. I do think that Wigman injury hurts. I really do. Like you said, Max Johnson played fantastic, and I really like what he can do. And he has obviously Wigman's a way better athlete. Wigman's a really good athlete. For what people give him credit for. But I think Max Johnson, I love when he scrambles. I think he's really smart when he chooses to scramble and when he doesn't. He seems like he's always picking up first downs. For A&M though, I do think that O-line does need to step up. I think they need to run the football and obviously give Max Johnson the best help he can get. In terms of A&M's defense, I was really impressed with what they did last week. I'm not quite ready to say they turned the corner.
Let's take it with a grain of salt.
I'm
Right?
saying
like
Auburn is terrible offensively.
they're terrible.
Has been really, really bad. Right. You might see a totally different Auburn team this week against Georgia than you saw last week, but who knows? They were not bad. They were not good. And A&M just kind of got pressure whenever they wanted. I like that they blitzed though. I really, really like that. I thought they got pressure when they did.
Yeah, let's see if he
Um,
keeps doing it. I mean, DJ Durkin
that's
feels
the
like he's
thing,
on off. He's like, oh, I'm gonna do it. Oh, it worked. Let me
because
not do that again.
you don't have corners you trust. I don't think to put them on islands and or to make them cover. And I as much as I love your pass rush or your defense line, I still I don't like giving KJ Jefferson and company, because with KJ Jefferson you need multiple guys to bring him down, otherwise he's gonna make you pay. And I think he's gonna do that this week. But I'm gonna take A&M to win. Um, because I think Max Johnson makes a couple clutch plays, right? Maybe their defense gets a turnover too. But I still think it'll be really, really close. I think 6.5 is a little too high. I'm gonna go Arkansas to cover.
Like that. Max Johnson also takes care of the football too. He does.
Yes,
So I, I
which I
like
know
that
Jimbo
about him.
loves.
Florida at Kentucky. This line keeps dropping, and it's dropping fast. Oh boy. Now, people who watched, well, actually, I'm not going to assume that a lot of our viewers watched the Florida Charlotte game, but if you did, oh my gosh, do you guys see that Ricky Pearsall catch? That was crazy. That was awesome. Uh, but when I was watching that game, like in the first half, like they never they scored on every possession. They just didn't put the ball in the end zone. They're also missing three of their starting offensive linemen in the first half, right? Two of them were suspended. One of them's injured. Starting center who might be back this week. Might be back. But Damian George at right tackle, Maskua at guard. I think they're going to be back this game. So I think they're going to be able to run the ball effectively. And with Kentucky, Devin Leary is not playing good football. If you were to tell
No,
me
he's
before the
not.
season that up until this point that Graham Mertz is playing way, like, I'm not talking about just like better football, way better football than Devin Leary, I would have said you're crazy. You are crazy. I can't believe what an absolute fraudulent statement. But Graham Mertz is impressed. Highest completion percentage in the SEC. How about that? How about that?
Okay, okay. I will say this in terms of Graham Mertz and all that. I do think, yes, he's been really efficient, but he doesn't push the ball down the field. I think Devin Leary's actually done a good job of hitting some receivers deep. They've got multiple 50+ play, like a lot of them. And obviously in a close game like this, that can be the difference. But yeah, I'll let you continue.
Yeah, Kentucky, Horsey, your guard, still probably out. We'll see. He could be back, but I still think he's probably out. If anyone has any information on that, please drop it in the comments. I would love to know because it could influence some betting situations for me. But do we know actually how good this offensive line is? Like, who has Kentucky played where they're going to actually be challenged? Florida's defensive line played well against Tennessee. They did. They stopped the run. They got pressure when they needed to. On the quarterback on dropbacks. Uh, I don't know, man. I think Florida, if they're just playing a little bit better football. I think they found their stride. I know it's at Kentucky. Trey Wilson's still out, right? Freshman who's second leading receiver. I don't care. Give me Florida plus the one. Give me them to win. Give me Florida. Give me the Gators to come out of this. And then what? They'll be 3-1 or 4-1 if they come out of this. They'll be 4-1 headed into week 6. That's crazy. I just don't think
That's
Kentucky's
about
been tested.
No, they haven't. That's about as good as you can ask for from Billy Napier. If you're 4-1, after the three pretty good quality opponents that you thought you were coming into the season against with Utah, Tennessee, and Kentucky. I'm gonna take Kentucky though. I'll take the 1 point and I'll take them to win. Obviously, I do think being on the road definitely hurts. I think Kentucky gets up for this game. Obviously for the longest time, remember there was that big streak where Florida kind of owned, Kentucky, and then the past couple of years, Kentucky has honestly been a better football program, has had better teams than Florida has, and so obviously that tide has shifted. It's a much closer game, better rivalry than it has been in the past. But I do think at Kentucky, I think they're going to be up for it. I think Devin Leary is going to play well. I've been waiting for it. I think he was the best. Well, minus Sam Hartman, he was the best quarterback to transfer. I guess you call Shador Sanders one, but regardless, in the SEC, I think he was the marquee transfer. Graham Mertz has played well, better than I thought he was going to play for sure. I'll give him credit there. Obviously, Trevor Etienne's a really good player. They got to get him established. The thing is you got a guy like Deion Walker, hopefully Keyshawn Silver, JJ Weaver, on the edge there. I think Kentucky's got a good D line, right? And your linebackers, Tevin Wallace, they're good players. They're real good players. Um, but yeah, I'm hoping I just some big plays Kentucky's gonna have. Ray Davis, I'm sorry. He's averaging 6 yards a carry, right? Him and Etienne are both above 6 yards a carry. If both teams can run the football, obviously it's gonna be a really good game. But I think Kentucky's gonna do enough offensively, and I think their defense is gonna shut down Florida and that offense there. Because honestly, I've been a little bit disappointed with Montrell Johnson. Right, obviously he's a good player, and I don't think this changes how I think of him. I've just been a little bit disappointed with him and how he's been used so far.
Trevor Etienne, though, is very good.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yes, he is. He is.
Clemson at Syracuse in the Carrier Dome. That place has the potential to be buzzing a little bit. Orange on orange, baby. Clemson coming off I thought a very impressive performance against Florida State. Syracuse has been coming off an absolute heater. Is Garrett Schrader going to carry the ball 25 times a game? I mean, I don't know. I don't know that that's very sustainable. And here's the thing: I like Allen. He's a good running back, and I know Rodney Gadsden's out for the season, but the receivers have really stepped up in a big way, which I like a lot. Syracuse has for sure made me some money this year a little bit. And they're just playing good football right now. Their defense is stepping up. Their offensive line is holding it together so far. Yeah, I will say Clemson, though, the thing that I was impressed about last week is getting pressure on Jordan Travis and stopping the run. That defensive line kind of coming into form a little bit there. And when I look at Clemson, I look at Clemson as like a top 20 team. I do. I think they're obviously AP poll with that resume. You can't rank them in top 25 because they haven't done anything to deserve that, right? But there's a reason that this game is almost a touchdown. In fact, I think this game should be more than a touchdown. Give me Clemson to win. Give me them to cover. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that too. I like, as impressed as we have been with Syracuse, I do think beating Purdue at Purdue gets a little bit more hype than it should. Right? Who hasn't beaten Purdue if you're on their Purdue schedule so far?
Whoa.
I'm kidding. We've got some diehard Purdue fans I know that listen to this show, so I'm sorry to you guys. I just wanted to give you a little jab. But yeah, I do think Clemson, first of all, 0-2 Clemson in the ACC. They have a lot of catching up to do if they want to get back to the ACC championship game, which I know they want to. In a year where they, right, Louisville, Duke, North Carolina, NC State, Georgia Tech, even maybe Miami. Right, there's a lot of variability, right, at the top half there. So Clemson's still in it, obviously. But it starts with this week, 11 a.m. in the Carrier Dome. You got to go in there and take care of business. I think they will. It's under a touchdown. Give me Clemson and the points. And I did like what we talked about it in our Clemson recap video of last week. I did like what I saw from Klubnik. I didn't love it, obviously, but I liked it. You're stepping in the right direction there. I think Garrett Riley's finding himself with this Clemson offense and the receivers they've got there. Will Shipley continue to have to ride him? The sad part is with Will Shipley, his longest rush on the year is 19 yards. For a guy that explosive, that good, that's not good enough. So obviously that O-line has to do a little bit better job of getting that second level and letting him be one-on-one with linebackers and safeties there to do what he does best. But yeah, I'm gonna go Clemson. I think they're gonna be a little bit pissed off. I hope they're not too demoralized. I do think this could be a letdown game where they should have won last week at home against Florida State. Obviously, that would have been a huge win for the momentum that they needed desperately. But yeah, I'm not too worried about that with Dabo and staff there. I think they'll come ready to play. But yeah, Garrett Schrader deserves a ton of credit. A ton of credit.
He really does.
Like went down there. Yeah, I know he was great last year, and then he got hurt, and then they lost a bunch of games. Obviously with the play style they've had this year, it's kind of looking up to that as well in terms of how much they're using him. How much can a body take there with Garrett Schrader? But yeah, this could be an interesting game, but I'm not too worried. Don't overthink it. It's Clemson over set minus 6.5.
I will say I'll play devil's advocate. If there was a reason to be worried about Clemson, okay, Antonio Williams goes down, right? Probably not going to be playing for this week, likely. That's an explosive playmaker that you have. If you think you need to rely on explosive plays on the road, which I don't think they necessarily do, then but that is a guy that's down and missing, right? Right guard, Walter Parks has been out recently, this past couple days. So they've been doing well without him, right? But boy, Mitchell Mays. I don't know, you Clemson fans, what you guys think. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments, but I think Mitchell Mays might be on stink alert right now. I think he's on stink alert. I don't know that when I watched, granted, he's playing some good teams. I don't know that he's the guy. I don't know that he's the guy. So tell me I'm wrong, but so can Syracuse get some pressure on K Klubnik? Maybe strip sack, right? Some turnovers. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Syracuse has been dealing with injuries on the offensive line, but the thing is, I think they're healthy now. They got through their gauntlet with well, not through their gauntlet, but they got through these past 4 games with some banged up offensive linemen. So how about that? I mean, you're not gonna have Isaiah Jones still, but I think these other receivers, man, could pick up the slack in the aggregate. So yeah. But with that being said, give me Clemson.
I was definitely impressed with that Army win. I do think that was not as easy as they ended up winning by 13 points. So it was still a tough game in the second half there. Right, they needed to put up 26 points in the second half, come from behind, and win that game. But yeah, Army's a good football team, and obviously playing them a team that you're not normally used to seeing that triple option always gives you headaches. So credit to Clemson or Syracuse for buckling down and getting that win there. I don't think it happens this week. Yeah.
Kansas at Texas, always a scary game for the Burn Orange. Always. But you get them at home. You get them at home. This line's at 16 and a half. This is a top 25 matchup.
Yep.
Over two
How
touchdowns. That's pretty crazy, man. That's pretty crazy. Uh, Kansas, I thought if you actually watched the Nevada game, which I did because I bet on I bet on Kansas. They did not cover, unfortunately. I still thought that they just dominated Nevada. I know it was like only a touchdown game, but they dominated. I mean, if you watch the game, you'd understand that they were running the ball. They were doing whatever they wanted to do. Nevada just hit a couple plays here or there. I mean, Jalen Daniels is still a stud. Devin Neal's still a stud. Luke Grimm, healthy. Come on. Mason Fairchild, come on. Once again, this offense, really good. But guess what? Let's give credit to their defense because guess what? Last week against BYU, how about 2 big time turnovers in the second half? They held BYU to 0.4 yards per carry. 0.4. That's a BYU team that has a loaded running back room. Aiden Robbins, LJ Martin. I mean, and they're not able to run. They were able to run the ball a little bit against Arkansas, but they couldn't do it against Kansas. Relying too heavily on Keaton Slovis over there. So I thought they made great adjustments in the second half for that game. Is it going to be hard to contain these weapons from Texas? Yes. Excruciatingly so. Likely. But man, like if they can just like get a turnover or two and like ramp up their offense a little bit. Now here's the argument for Texas. Wrote down some stats for their defense. Now they don't have Chris Ross on the defensive line. But Chris Ross, I mean, rotational guy. That's fine. Cole Hudson on the offensive line, rotational guy. They're fine. What I'm trying to say is that they're still healthy there in the trenches. They're 12th PFF's defensive ratings, 25th in yards per game allowed, 18th in yards per game rushing allowed, 24th in passing efficiency rating, 17th in third down conversion rates as a defense, 16th in first downs allowed as defense, 20th in defensive penalties, second in red zone defense, 18th in sacks, 16th in turnover margin, 13th in points per game allowed, top 15 strength of schedule, top 5, depending what kind of strength of schedule metric you're looking at. So they're consistently playing at a very high level against very good competition. Yeah, I mean, this defense is sick for Texas. This defense is sick. It's kind of going to be like the unstoppable force meeting the immovable object, right? Kansas offense, which cannot be stopped. versus the Texas defense, which has shown up and finds ways to get stops. What are you thinking
Yeah, I'm
about
gonna.
this?
The thing is first of all, Illinois I think has a really good defense. And we saw it struggle against Jalen Daniels and running quarterbacks. That's what college football is these days. With creative offensive schemes that Kansas has, and obviously explosive athletes at the quarterback position, right? It doesn't matter how good a defense is. He's gonna break you down. He's gonna break down plays, and he's just gonna make plays on his own. And obviously, we've been super high in Texas. I'm super high in Texas. I think they're gonna run the table in the Big 12. Um, but I'm gonna take Kansas to cover here. I think 16.5 is too much. I think Jalen Daniels will still put up numbers. They'll put up points. Quinn Ewers will play well. It was nice to see what he did last week in a game where they could have let down obviously against Baylor. But they kind of dominated that whole game there. And I still impressed with Kansas. Obviously, Kansas, like you said, their defense has been good enough to make sure they're 4-0 this at this point in the season. Obviously, you think it will continue to get maybe a little bit better. Especially Austin Booker has been a hit in the transfer portal. He's the defensive end for them there, leading their team in sacks. He's from Minnesota. Obviously, as a Minnesota fan, it's tough to lose a guy like that. And see him succeed somewhere else. But happy for him, Austin Booker. Going somewhere where he's going to play and play really well. But yeah, Texas, too much talent, too good defensively. And obviously that offense, they'll put up plenty. They'll put up enough points to get it done. I don't think they'll win by 16.5 though. So that's why I'm going Kansas. But I think it could be an awesome game. Like in terms of like flash plays from both sides of the team. But yeah, Texas is too good to lose, but Kansas is too good not to cover, I think.
Yeah, I struggle. If this was in Kansas, I would. Oh yeah, I'd be all over Kansas to cover. Kansas middle in the pack. It's not like they commit a ton of penalties. Um, but when they do, and they kind of become one dimensional, like I struggle to see Kansas finding a way to run the ball against this Texas defensive line. I really do. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take Texas, and I'm gonna take the points minus 16.5. I know that feels
Wow.
like a lot. It might be too much. I don't know. But I just think that there's more of a chance that Texas covers the spread than they don't. I just, this is a hard game for me to pick. This is a hard game for me to pick. But
That's fair.
yeah,
Sarcasm cooking right now, and I don't think they're going to be taking Kansas lightly like they have, when they lost them a couple years ago. I don't think that's going to happen. I know Texas is well aware of how explosive Jalen Daniels and Kansas is, and how dangerous they can be. So don't take them lightly. But yeah, I
yeah.
get what you're saying. I'm going to go Kansas.
And I think Kansas's defensive success has relied a lot on turnovers, a lot on turnovers, and it did last year. So I'm still waiting for that to break. And Quinn Ewers has done a good job taking care of the football this year. So for the most part, actually, I don't
He's
even
got
know that he's an interception
zero
this year.
picks, zero picks, which
Yeah.
for him is
So
crazy. But also, like, something's got to give. Is it going to be Quinn Ewers to throw picks, or is it going to be Kansas to not turn the ball over? But yeah, like you said, storylines here are really interesting. I think you talked about that defense and that offense. I'm referring to Kansas offense and Texas defense. That's been both of them been elite this year.
Notre Dame at Duke. A couple weeks ago, bet you didn't think we were going to be talking about this game. Maybe. Wow, it's at Duke. Am I right by that? It's at Duke. That
Yep,
just
game day is going to be there.
that makes it so scary. That makes it so scary. And I know that Notre Dame came off a really tough loss, and I know they're going to be just locked in practice all week. But Duke has been locked in all year. Notre Dame doesn't scare these guys. Notre Dame does not scare Duke at all. These kids know exactly what they're getting into. Mike Elko is a great coach. In fact, I will go as far as saying a much better coach than Marcus Freeman up until this point. Based on, yes, dude, what was that? This is not a Notre Dame Ohio State segment, but there have been multiple times, not even just in the Ohio State game, there have been multiple times this year where they've put 10 guys on the field on defense. That can't happen. And then his justification for not doing it and sending
Yeah,
out a guy late was like, oh, we were going to get a penalty on the 1 yard line. the one not that necessarily changes the game, but like it might have been the same outcome, but like come on, dude. Like it just feels like I don't know. I don't know. I think Mike Elko is that dude. And I'm an A&M fan, right? So obviously I'm missing him dearly, but just what he's done, man. And Riley Leonard is a dog. And that defense flies around. Those transfer corners that we were talking about in the preseason, hit. These guys are awesome. And who knows? Can Notre Dame's receivers can they figure it out? Well, they've been good, right? Ohio State, they struggled a little bit. Can these young receivers overcome? But I think so far up to this point, it's been a pretty okay secondary. Duke fans, maybe you can correct me on that. Let me know if you agree with that in the comments. But from my knowledge, from me watching, I think they've been pretty good.
Yeah, they shut down Ben Bryant in Northwestern, which
Which some
Minnesota
teams
couldn't do. Damn it! Don't get me upset right now. No, but to add on to your point about giving a ton of credit to Duke and how they looked this year is the main takeaway I think from a lot of people's eyes in that first week 1 game was that regardless of the turnovers, regardless of what happened, is Duke looked like the same caliber football team that Clemson was in terms of athlete for athlete, which is not something that they've had there in ever, right? Ever. Like basketball team, yes, obviously. Football team, no. They really haven't. And the takeaway from Notre Dame against Ohio State, I thought for me was like they were pound for pound right there with Ohio State, right? In terms of caliber of athlete. So obviously credit to both these programs, both these coaches for building up the talent level on that roster. The best player in this game, make no mistake, is Riley Leonard. Make no mistake, he is the best player in this game.
wow,
In terms
that's
of
a statement.
in terms of impact, obviously Joe Alt, I think, is obviously going to be drafted higher. He's a stud. We all know that. Austin May is a good player. Obviously, Sam Hartman's a really good quarterback in his own right. But Riley Leonard is the best player in this game, I think. And I think he's really going to show it. I'm going to go with Notre Dame to win. And I'm kind of taking this off here. I'm going to call Duke to cover because I do think it's going to be a really, really good football game. I don't know how rowdy the atmosphere is going to be it's Durham, right? It's Duke. Am I tripping?
Yeah,
It's Durham, right? Yeah, in Durham, North Carolina there. But obviously it's week 1 is weird because a lot of people are moving in to college still. Labor Day weekend was Monday night. So obviously there was a big joke about the student section at Duke and like storming the field. But no, I think they'll be ready to go there. It's a 6:30 game, prime time ABC. But yeah, I'm gonna go. I think Duke. Right, Leonard's just gonna make plays through the ground, through the air. Calhoun's a stud. Defense make enough plays. Mike Elko will scheme up something good against that ground game. And yeah, I think it's gonna be a great game. I really do. I think game day chose the right place to be at with these two teams.
yeah. I like in all reality, if Notre Dame sticks to the run game, right? I think that they can win this football game. They just got to commit. They just got to commit to it, and they have. And it felt like late. Why was Estime not in the game in that last possession? Will blow my mind forever. Again, another Marcus is that Marcus Freeman's decision? Why was he not in his offensive coordinator's ear? I don't know, but everything in my heart, everything in my heart is telling me that Mike Elko can scheme against this run. They're averaging 3.8 yards per carry on the ground for the year. It's pretty solid. Everything in my heart is telling me that that secondary can lock down these Notre Dame receivers. Everything in my heart tells me that Riley Leonard's going to make enough plays. Everything in my heart tells me that things go right at home for Mike Elko. They're not afraid of this game. Give me Duke to cover and to win. Give me Duke to
Wow.
win straight up in this game. I could be totally wrong, but guess what? I want to be the guy that said I'm right. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't love this pick by any means, but
Nope.
I just feel I know Notre Dame was in a dogfight.
They
I don't
better
know
be
that
ready
we
for another one. I'm just gonna say they better be ready for
they
another
better
one.
be ready for another one. And guess what? Duke is fresh. And fresh off, I mean, look, Hopefully Riley Leonard's professor is going to let him turn in homework late this time. This isn't a night game though, so he should be fine. He should be fine. But goodness, I really like Riley Leonard. And this is not a Sam Hartman slander segment either. I love Sam Hartman. That dude is awesome. And there is a reason that my decision, right, is not correct. It might be because of Sam Hartman stepping up, lowering his shoulder, getting those first downs, threading those needles. Uh, but yeah, just in a coaching battle, like you said last week, Mike Norvell versus Dabo Sweeney's staff. You took Mike Norvell, and that ended up being the difference in the game. Give me Mike Elko over Marcus Freeman in this game.
I don't hate that. I kind of forgot when you talk about when you said Mike Elko's better coach than Marcus Freeman. In terms of coaching and week to week, like Saturday or Sunday to Saturday, right? And during that game,
Clock
give me
management.
Mike Elko. But I do think as a whole coach, recruiter, being able to run an elite program, I do think Marcus Freeman is that there's a reason why Marcus Freeman's at Notre Dame and Mike Elko's at Duke. And that's not to say Mark Elko will not be at a place like Notre Dame eventually. I think we both know he will be. Obviously, for Duke's sake, they hope they keep him there forever. But real quick, I do want to say this. We talk about good teams win, great teams cover. Duke is 4-0. 4-0 against the spread this year, man. They have that. I mean, even Northwestern, you thought it was gonna be let down. Nope. Connecticut, right? And who's there? It's the old UCLA coach.
Jim Mora.
Jim Mora. Thank you. I always forget his name. Shout out Jim Mora. Dominated Connecticut on the road there. They went to Connecticut, right? Dominated there, obviously. I think, I don't know. Like you said, Mike Elko will have those boys humming for this game.
I'll ask you two questions, and then we can move on. What is Duke's record last year with Marcus Freeman? And what is the record this year with Marcus Freeman? Duke won 9 games. Duke won 9 games last year.
Last year. They're not 9-4. I'll tell you that last year. Because I'll tell you, Notre Dame's roster was arguably better than Duke's roster, and they did not go 9-4. Now, obviously, all schedules are not created equally, but Mike Elko does not lose to Marshall
or Stanford.
Oh yeah. No.
Come on. What do we?
And that's all credit to Matthew McConaughey and Marshall there. They obviously, they were a good team last year. They had great defense, as Miami's learning right now with Lance Guillory how good that Marshall defense was last year. But yeah, like you said, Mike Elko, good ass coach.
Yeah. Although Notre Dame fans, feel free to slander me in the comments because I think there's a really good chance that I'm proven wrong. I think there's a really good chance to be proven wrong, and you guys can be here when that happens. I don't care. So just so you know.
I'll tell you the reason why, and I don't know if you're in the same boat here, is I don't have a good feeling on this game in terms of like my eye test tells me that Notre Dame should win, should cover, and Notre Dame's yep. But something about my gut just tells me
right here,
Duke points, Duke to cover. That's what it is, I think, and sometimes that's all it is. In college football, you have 12 different. Sorry, got a little emotional there. Too fired up for this. I hit my mic, but yeah, 12 different teams. Right, in the regular season, you have 12 different teams. You have no idea week to week to happen. But I'll tell you, Mike Elko knows, man. Mike Elko knows how to get his team ready to play.
I agree. Georgia at Auburn. Georgia. What's going on there? Well, I'll tell you. Injuries. I mean, look, they haven't had Ladd McConkey. They haven't had Kendall Milton, who, by the way, is practicing this week. Might come back. I think they save him for another week, but he's back practicing. Robinson, that's another running back. Tavon Bullard or Taron Bullard, Tavon Bullard or Javon Bullard. That's what I meant to say. What am I saying right now? He's also been injured. So plus I believe another defensive lineman's down. Don't remember off the top of my head, but injuries, getting off the slow starts. But guess what? If you're here in the comments as an Auburn fan or as another type of fan to slander Carson Beck, you're kidding yourselves. You are kidding yourselves. This kid is playing good football. He's playing good football. I don't know what else to say. It's not Heisman level. I know at the beginning of the season, right, if you guys are there for our previews, and I talked about Carson Beck potentially being in the Heisman conversation in New York, later this year. That might not happen, right? But to say
Yeah.
that Carson Beck is not playing good football is ridiculous. He
Well,
is
and to add on that point, real quick, and we don't talk a ton of Heisman here because obviously in September, you
throwing
have
away
no
money.
idea. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, and the problem with Carson Beck is you talk about Heisman moments. He's not going to have one of those because of the schedule he plays and the dynamic of the SEC East right now. He could put up 4,000 yards and still be nowhere near New York at the end of the year. But yep.
Yeah, I mean this Georgia offense is still putting up 41 points per game. Sorry, still is. And Auburn, goodness gracious, after what we saw last week. In fact, actually, what we've seen this whole year is that offensive line is not good. I know we thought it was going to be good, right? Because they brought in a lot of G5 guys, but in my eyes, all I've seen is a G5 offensive line. And Peyton Thorne, it's not very good. The receivers, they got some good guys in transport. It's so confusing that Hugh Freeze is not able to get this thing going, but just feels like they don't have any answers on offense. Their defense is still playing pretty decently. A lot of stuff happens in Jordan Hare. A lot of weird stuff happens in Jordan Hare. So I it's tough. It's tough to fade Auburn in Jordan Hare ever, right? But give me Georgia to win. And give me Georgia. Give me the 14.5. I don't care. Give it to me. What say you?
Yeah, I think again, yeah, I'm gonna go Georgia to win, Georgia cover. I think they're finally gonna wake up. Not that they've been sleepwalking through their earliest schedule, but they kind of have. And you saw that against South Carolina, where that first half was pretty ugly, and then Kirby's like, they're not gonna score another point, whatever, and then or not gonna get another touchdown, and then what? And then they blew them out right in the second half there. I think they're too talented. Carson Beck and Georgia will score too many points for Auburn to be able to catch up in this game. And at that point, then it can get kind of ugly like it did last week with A&M and Auburn. I still feel pretty good about Auburn and Hugh Freeze. I think the rest of the year, they get by this game. You can still win 7 games, if you're Auburn, but it doesn't. Not to dismiss this game at all because obviously it's a huge rivalry game, the oldest rivalry in the South or whatever it's called. Georgia to Auburn. If you're in the SEC or in the SEC country, you know how big of a game this is. Jordan Hare, like you said, is going to be buzzing. But yeah, I think Georgia goes in early. They quiet the crowd, and then it gets out of hand. The boo birds come out for Peyton Thorne and Robbie Ashford for whatever happens for Auburn. I hate to say that for Auburn, but yeah, I think it could be ugly here. But regardless of how this goes for Auburn, I think don't worry about it. Really, don't worry about it. Like Georgia's going to do that to most teams they play this year. You're not quite on the caliber as you'd like to be at this point, to be able to compete with Georgia and to be upset about getting blown out by Georgia. At this point, it's fine. But yeah, Georgia, you're a Georgia fan, like you said, show me something. Show me something. Show me a dominant 60-minute performance, which they haven't really done. Obviously on the road is a great place to start in Jordan Hare. It's a great place to start. But another interesting thing is you look at Georgia's schedule, obviously they haven't played anybody good. But another interesting part is their schedule. They haven't gone on the road yet, right? This is their first time away from home. And
Very
for
true.
Carson Beck as a starting quarterback, Jordan Hare is probably one of the worst places I want to be in, right? If in terms of your first road environment. And Auburn's defense is pretty good. It's not great. It's pretty darn good, though. I think, in terms of where that team is.
I think it is.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not going to be easy for Carson Beck, but I do think Brock Bowers and company there. Now, if you want to talk about path for Auburn to win, right? If you want to break it down for us, how does Auburn win here? Besides, massive injury to Georgia, whatever. How does Auburn, win this game?
How do they win this game? Goodness. Turnovers from Carson Beck. That's it.
If that's your first thing, exactly. That's why we're picking Georgia to cover there. I do think, in terms of non-turnover, I'll throw in stopping the run.
Special
Right?
teams touchdowns.
Oh my God, come on. No, I agree. Yeah, but in terms of down to down, to be able to keep it a game to where a couple touchdowns or maybe 2 plays here and there defensively or on special teams change the outcome of the game, stopping the run, right? Georgia's running backs have been, in and out of lineup all year. Obviously, they're banged up. Auburn can stop the run, right? Amari Daniels had that big run last week against them, but other than that, I thought they did fine against the run.
Okay,
Um,
they did
yeah,
okay.
okay. I thought and obviously Cal didn't do anything against them
Yeah.
offensively, which is
Well,
just a
Austin's out,
crazy
but
game for him.
Hunter and Bate was really good. I was pleasantly surprised by
Mm-hmm.
him as well at running back. No Keontae Scott for Auburn at nickel, but I mean he didn't play against A&M, so didn't seem like it still felt like Auburn secondary was doing fine without him. But I mean, look, Auburn better hope for some serious food poisoning, mass food poisoning at these practice facilities for Georgia, because I don't know, man. Sorry, Auburn. It's not your year. I'm sorry. LSU at Ole Miss. Headliner of the game?
Yep.
I mean, come
Yep.
on. This is this is well, besides Kentucky, Florida, this is the tightest spread that we're covering this week. LSU. It's pretty crazy that if you were telling me that before the season, I'd be really shocked that this line is at 2.5, but it's at home. It's at home. LSU. Another blow to the secondary, right? Of course, prayers up for Greg Brooks, right? Brain tumor, emergency surgery. Believe that he's going to be okay. Just not going to be returning to football anytime soon. So, unfortunate to him, and really unfortunate for LSU secondary, which was already pretty thin. But Denver Harris has gotten in there, and I think he's been fine. He didn't really play in the Florida State game, but I think he's been fine. I don't know that he's been great, but it's been okay. So, uh, and Omar Spates was out last week, right, against Arkansas, which could have been another reason that KJ Jefferson did his thing. With a hip flexor injury, Brian Kelly said that he's probable to play. Granted, Jimbo said that Connor Wigman was day to day the other day, and he's out for the season. So sometimes you can't really take what these coaches say seriously. So if anyone has any information on Omar Spates, his health could have some impact on things I do with my money. So if anyone's an LSU fan, you have any insider information, please leave it in the comments. Um, yeah, so Ole Miss, Trey Harris, I still don't think he might be back. We'll see about that. Again, Ole Miss fans, if you know anything about that, please tell me. I've been searching, trying to figure that out. Of course, where the heck is Sakari Franklin? We don't know. Priest Corn was back this week, which is huge because Michael Trigg, we were informed that he left the team at tight end. That was another tight end that they brought in. Um, the fact that Priest Corn's back from Memphis, from injury, we saw him play against Bama last week. That's big. That's really, really big for that tight end room for sure. And Judkins played against Bama, but again, I don't know how banged up he is. Hopefully he's at full strength. If he played against Bama, I'm assuming he's at full strength. So haven't heard anything else about that as well. So, but Jackson Dart, mobile with the legs, same way KJ Jefferson is, and the same way Jordan Travis can kind of maneuver in the pocket a little bit. So it feels like that, LSU, while they get really great interior pressure, and Harold Perkins is a really good player as well. If you can buy time and give your receivers time to get open downfield, things can happen. Which is why I think this line is as low as it is.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss, especially Jackson Dart, is going to be very happy to be playing LSU in terms of what happened last week against Alabama. They were running into an absolute buzzsaw of a defense there. Like we saw last week, LSU vulnerable defensively, and they happen all year. Going back to the Florida State game, maybe not against Mississippi State. Again, a team that refused to push the ball downfield. Common denominators between Arkansas and Florida State, and even Ole Miss now, is dual threat quarterback, right? You have a quarterback that's willing to run the football. Jackson Dart is their leading rusher, right? On a team with Quinshon Judkins. I know he's been banged up. Sounds like he's getting healthier. Fantastic for Ole Miss. I do think Jackson Dart can really give them problems. He's played really well all year. I know we were a little bit critical of him in the offseason. Glad to see he's playing really well. I know Ole Miss is happy for him. Even with wide receivers in and out of lineup, he still played pretty well. Obviously, Bama, it is what it is against that defense right now. Nobody's gonna be doing that. I guess Ewers did, but it was a couple big plays here and there. Yeah, I'm gonna. Oh wow, I don't. I've been going back and forth on this. Like you said, there's a reason why it's a really tight point spread. It's a really good game. Going to Ole Miss is not easy for LSU, but I'm gonna go Jaden Daniels and LSU. I know I've been critical of him this year, leading up to this year, but he's been really good. He's been really, really good. I think he's gonna play really well again on the road for LSU going to Ole Miss. If they can get on early like they did against Mississippi State, they can silence the crowd, make it easier for Daniels on offense to go to work. Make Dart and Judkins play from behind for Ole Miss, put them out of rhythm or whatever it is. Get that positive game script for you guys. That would make obviously the world difference. If it's a game in the fourth quarter, though, who knows, right? With a guy like Quitson Judkins, playmaker like Jackson Dart, just one missed tackle there, boom, 60-yard touchdown, it's gone.
Right.
And you lose. So yeah, I'm gonna go LSU to cover though, obviously to win, since they're favored. Go on the road there and beat Ole Miss.
Yeah, it's dangerous taking road conference games favorites, especially because like all these favorites want like one of the dogs going to come in. But yeah, give me LSU in the points. One thing that you'd be worried about, especially like with a line like this, like is LSU like what does Ole Miss need to do to win the game? Right, explosive plays, which they can definitely hit. And they need to stop Jaden Daniels. I don't think they can do that. And is LSU going to make mistakes? Right, is Jaden Daniels going to turn the ball over? Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. And are they going to commit severe penalties? This is not a very penalized team, despite people being critical of their defense and their offensive line in the Florida State game. They've not been penalized very much at all this year. 22nd in the country, only 15 penalties through 4 games. That's pretty good for a college football team. So, yeah, give me LSU. Give me the points or lay the points. If you're going to give me under a field goal against an Ole Miss team, which I don't think is all that, just give me the better team with the better quarterback, the better offensive line, the better defensive line, better linebackers,
Weapons offensively.
better offensive weapons. They're just better at every position except maybe running back and secondary. That's it. So
The thing is like you said that, but the reason why we're so hesitant on this game is like it's college football. For those of you who do not remember conference play, right? Every year, I know people's brains, you forget things. Conference play is hard. Going on the road in conference, especially the SEC and now most conferences, is hard to do. Right? Sometimes it doesn't matter who's better position by position. You throw that out the window for 60 minutes. You line up 18 to 22-year-olds can make plays and can make bad plays and can make turnovers or penalties or whatever it is. You don't know what you're going to get week to week. With that being said, though, I got to make a pick, so I'm going LSU. But no way am I ever touching this game. Would I have ever touched this game either? Even no matter what the line is, you couldn't give me a line, and I wouldn't take it. A reasonable line, obviously, but.
whoa, upset meter alert. This is a new segment for us. First time that we're going to be doing this year. Look, there's ratings. We're looking at 4 teams. Washington, they're playing Arizona. Tennessee, they're playing South Carolina. Iowa, they're playing Michigan State. Bama, they're playing Mississippi State. These are teams that we didn't preview, right? But I think it's worth talking about them, right? The rules for the upset meter, right? It's got to be a 10-point spread, at least, to be on the upset meter, right? Obviously, this rating system, right, is pretty self-explanatory. Cold, meaning I'm not worried. We're not worried about this upset. Tennessee. Oh, sorry, not Tennessee. I was just looking at Tennessee. Mild. It's like, well, it could happen, but I'd be pretty dang surprised. Sweating is like, wow, if I was a fan, I might be a little bit nervous. Steaming is like, this could happen. Like, this is very possible. Piping is like, why is this a 10-point spread? Why is this spread
Maybe I
as
would
large
take.
as it is?
Maybe I would think about taking money line for the
Yeah,
dog.
maybe
It's one of those
possibly
type of deal.
a sprinky. Yeah. But let's get started. So Washington this week plays Arizona. We know how dominant Washington's been. They're going on the road against a team that's pretty explosive. This is an 18-point spread. Totals at 67.5. For me, because of how good Washington's been playing, they're cold. This is a cold upset. I would never pick Arizona to win this game 100 times. I mean, you could not convince me that there's a scenario where Wisconsin or Washington loses this game.
No. And to be honest, to mention Washington here, I can't wait till they get into the heart of Pac-12 schedule where we can talk about them almost every week because I've been itching to talk about them. They're obviously been playing out of their mind, dominant all weeks. Arizona lost the game at Mississippi State that they probably shouldn't have. Again, though, Jaden Delore turnovers, right? What happened there? And that Mississippi State win is getting worse and worse every week. Or I'm sorry, Mississippi State loss is getting worse and worse every week. And then what happened last week? Yes, you're going on the road, but it's Stanford. All right. You win 21-10. All right. That should never happen for Arizona and Jaden Delora. But yeah, like you said, I'm Washington, damn good. Damn good. I'm not worried at all. Even though you're going on the road, right? I'm not worried.
So you
Washington,
agree
too
this
explosive.
is you agree this is pretty cold?
Yeah, I'm gonna yeah, absolutely.
Tennessee, South Carolina. Tennessee gets South Carolina at home this game. Spreads 11.5, 12, depending where you look at it. Um, I think I'm not going to say South Carolina is really good. I'm not going to do that. Spencer Rattler is really good. He's playing out of his mind right now. He's playing out of his mind. And until I see Tennessee play 4 good quarters of football, I'm going to say that there's a chance they lose this game. In fact, I think it's more than a chance. This is like, to me, this is steaming. This is steaming. Now, there's also a scenario where Spencer Rattler gets overwhelmed by his pass rush and makes some mistakes. But just the way that he's been playing, man, like, holy cow. For me, this is steaming hot.
Yeah, I think you're right. I couldn't agree more. I think Tennessee's a team that we're not super high on right now. I think 21 in the country is maybe a little bit too high for them. And obviously it helps them being at home in Knoxville, and obviously that's why the line is over 10 points like it is. But if we know one thing about Shane Beamer teams, right, as inconsistent as they may be, as highs and lows as they have, it don't matter where they're playing. It don't matter. They can beat you anywhere. We saw ask Clemson last year in Death Valley, ask Georgia this year in the first half, right? They went to Sanford Stadium and was kind of handle them in the first half. So obviously that happens here. Tennessee does not have the talent Georgia does to overcome that and to win convincingly, right? Obviously, Joe Milton's a very talented player. We saw last week. He made some plays against UTSA, but yeah, I'm not gonna pick him outright to win, but I would definitely be I'm that's gonna be a game I'm gonna be tuned into, right? 6:30 on Saturday in the night window there. I wouldn't be surprised if you checked your prompt there at the bottom of the screen and it's up. South Carolina's up 7 points, up 10 points in the second half, right? With Spencer Rattler in that offense there, you never know.
I agree. Put that one in steaming. Iowa, boy, they've sucked on offense. Boy, have they sucked on offense. This game is a night game at Kinnick Stadium, playing against Michigan State Spartans, who also stink potentially. No, they stink. This is a stink fest right here on offense. Absolute stink fest, which maybe is a preview for some Dawson's Diner bets that are coming up after this segment. But yeah, I mean, for me, this is sweating just because I mean, when you have a total at 36.5, right? That you're automatically sweating there, right? You know it's gonna be. I mean, you could have a total of 36.5 and have a game be 20-3, right? But just the way this offense just can't figure anything out, right? And their running backs are injured. Cade McNamara is frustrated. Their wide receivers have 14 catches all year. Like, that is would you even come to Iowa if you're a wide receiver? Credit Charlie Jones for getting out of there, finding Purdue. That's the kind of talent that they had on that roster. He's already got a punt return for the Bengals, though, for this far this season, and reception as well for 6 yards. But for me, this is sweating. Where are you feeling about this?
I agree. And it's not that I'm high on Michigan State at all, right? And their offense, both of them are terrible. It's just when you play the type of football that Iowa plays and you have the type of offense that they have this year, you're not going to blow teams out, right? Or at least Power 5 teams, you're probably not going to. And that leads the longer you leave teams into this, game, right? In college football, anything can happen. Obviously, night game at Kinnick Stadium definitely helps you. That's why I'm no more than sweating. But yeah, for the rest of the year, as bad as Iowa in the Big Ten West is, any team can beat any team in the Big Ten West, and obviously Michigan State's Big Ten East. But I think Iowa's going to be on alert the rest of the year, and they could probably win all their games the rest of the way.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised by that either.
Yeah, but still, I'm gonna go. I think sweating's the right place to put them.
Let's move on to Bama. Going on the road to play Mississippi State. They handled Ole Miss at home last week. Uh, I shouldn't say handled. They didn't look great in that game, but they won by 2 touchdowns, right? So they did what they needed to do after 2 not so great games, one against Texas, one against USF. Who would have thought I would have been saying that? Yeah, just going on the road again. Cowbell feels like Will Rogers kind of figured out that he can throw the ball down the field, or the coaching staff kind of figured that out a little bit. Also, how about Griffin? What do you have, like 250 yards or something, 230 yards? Goodness gracious. Yeah, fans have been excited about that guy for a while, and it's good to see him pop off for the Bulldogs over there. But for me, this is pretty mild. This is a pretty mild upset alert rating. This Bama team is so talented, man. It's so talented. And this Mississippi State secondary is struggling a lot. Obviously, lost a lot of guys last year. I think this could be like another kind of get right game for Jalen Milroe. Like, not gonna have to be looking off your first read a ton. Maybe your guys will just be open. Because again, you and I have talked about this. Bama receiving rooms, it's not been terrible this year. I don't think it's been as bad as it has been.
The emergence of the freshman Jalen Hall too has been nice. Another guy they're going to get more and more involved as the season goes on.
Yeah, where's this for you?
Yeah, I'm pretty mild here. I don't mind this at all. I do think Mississippi State, if you're thinking about a path to victory, is pushing the ball downfield with Will Rogers, which we saw last game, obviously. But again, like Bama's defense is really, really good, right? They're going to stop the run with Marks, and it's going to be on Rogers and that staff. I don't trust that staff to be able to take advantage of that, like maybe the staffs of prior with Will Rogers there and his previous SEC seasons. And Saban has had Mississippi State's number for as long as he's been there. I mean, Mississippi State have had some really, really good teams and have just struggled to move the football against Bama. And I also think Mississippi State's very liable defensively, right? That was a point where we thought it was going to be a strength for them coming to the year. Arizona moved the ball a ton on them. LSU obviously just cut through them like, hot knife on butter. And then in South Carolina, Spencer Rattler, moved the ball a ton. I do think, yeah, if you're Alabama, Jalen Milroe can put up some numbers this week, I think, through the air and a deep ball, which he's actually really good at throwing deep ball. And then obviously with his legs and McClellan on the ground. Yeah, I like you said, I'm not too worried. Obviously going night game at Mississippi State, Cowbells, whatever. Not too worried. I think Bama gets it done here. I'm not worried at all.
Roll them in the mild. I will say, hey, I enjoyed this segment a lot. You viewers, you listeners, if you're listening to the segment, please let us know how you liked it. Also, if we missed any, we only really have time to cover a couple, but let us know. Who do you think's on upset alert this week? Make sure to check out. If you're just listening to this video as a cut up, right? This is part of a longer episode, right? With 9 other games we previewed. So please check those out as well. If you're listening to this full long episode, gosh, congrats for being here. And it's going to be well deserved because you guys are going to listen to my Dawson's Diner bets. So thank you guys for checking out our upset meter. All right, here we go. Bounce back
today.
Bounce back week. You know what we do in a bounce back week? After you go 1-4, you say, let me go find value. Utah, Oregon State, under 45.5. We talked about that game. Utah cannot score for absolute poop right now. I don't believe Cam Rising is going to play. I think they hold him off to the bye week. Oregon State, if they are going to move the ball in Utah, it's going to be in the ground game. and that could be slow. So give me under 45.5. I think this is a 20-17 game, 17-14 game. I think it's low scoring. Arkansas State, the emergence of Jalen Raynor. He's a stud. Yeah, I know he's a true freshman. First road game. I don't
Has
care.
has Vegas adjusted yet? I don't
I
think
don't know
so.
that. I don't
I
think
don't think so.
I don't think they've adjusted for the Jalen Raynor coefficient. Plus, UMass quarterback, Tommy. Oh boy, how do we pronounce his last name? Um, Famachan, Famachan, Famachan,
Nailed it.
maybe. Let's just pretend I nailed it. All right, guys in the comments, please let me know if I nailed that or not. But yeah, I mean, enough said, man. I think Jalen Raynor's a stud. I think he needs to be on everyone's radar. If you're a fantasy player, I picked him up. Oh boy, am I excited. TC minus 12.5. This is at 11.5. You can get at 12 still, I believe, in some places. I got at 12.5. Kind of like a bum, I guess. But it opened at 11.5. I was waiting for it to move down, maybe potentially, because I thought, oh, maybe people are. I thought people would be higher in West Virginia because I think people forgot about TCU and like how really good they've been the last 3 games since the Colorado game. And that West Virginia secondary has not been taken advantage of. You thought that Texas Tech could take advantage of it. Baron Morton just maybe not the guy, right? Maybe not the guy there. So give me Chandler Morris to put up points. Give me Kendall Browse to be dialed in. And I think Neil Brown slips in this game. And I think he slips pretty hard. I mean, this is a home game for TCU as well. So it's in forward. So feed me TCU. Akron minus 2.5. They're playing Buffalo. That's probably all you need to know. It's a home game. DJ Irons, feed me that guy. Feed me DJ Irons all day. We saw him go in a dogfight with Indiana. We've seen Buffalo lose to Fordham this year. So enough said. I think Akron will be able to run the ball effectively. DJ Irons is just such a playmaker. I think he's really good. So Jacksonville State minus 6.5. This is the one I feel least confident in. This is strictly a fade Sam Houston State bet. That team has scored a total of 10 points this year, but they've played all Division I teams this year. So that's its own problem, right? So who knows what they'll do against Jacksonville State's defense? I think Jacksonville State can just find enough. I believe this is on the road for them as well, so it's hard conference games on the road. But again, there's no. This is a conference game, but this is Jacksonville State's first time in the conference, so I don't know that the blood is boiling on either sides. So, yeah, give me Jacksonville State to cover that minus 6.5, and then Iowa, Michigan State. Just I don't care. This is at 39.5. I'm showing this to you at 36.5. Still take it. I still take it. Why would you? There's no reason to take the over in this game. No reason. Iowa has done nothing to let you think that they can score the ball at an effective rate. Michigan State has done nothing to think that they can, nothing to make you think that they could score on a defense like Iowa's. Nothing. I don't care. This is a low total. I don't care. I know I took the Oklahoma State, Iowa State under 38.5 last week or 36.5 and covered in the first half, or it blew the doors off me in the first half. I don't care. We're right back. Call me the Undertaker, but that's what's going on here. So I'm pumped about that. 10-10 on the year, 1-4 last week. This is a bounce back week. This is the definition of a bounce back week. It's
6-0, baby. 6-0.
It's coming. It's coming. Thank you guys for checking us out. This is your first time watching and you're listening and you listen to this whole show. Congrats. This is a long show. I know. But we have cut-ups as well of these. So if you want to send it to your friends, like CD mentioned at the beginning, let us know how you liked it. Let us know what we can do better. We love hearing what you guys have to say about things. Let us know who are the upsets that we covered in the preview. Do you agree with us? What's going on here? So thank you guys so much. CD, anything from you?
No, it's gonna be a great week, right? Saturdays, clear your Saturdays. It's Saturdays in the fall.
Saturdays in the
College
fall,
football.
and it's conference play. Oh, I love conference play. So, anyways, thank you guys, and we will see you in the next one.